You ever think about quitting?
It's the combat of life hammering the snot out of you.
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit Podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Now, Marcus, listen, I believe I'm going to have to temper the excitement this morning. Although, don't get me wrong, I am 100% fired up.
Not possible.
All right, let me just alter it into a different realm, because the show we have today is a show that I promise you, and I promise you who are listening right now, you will be transformed. What do you think?
I agree with you absolutely on that one. I mean, there's a topic of what we're talking about. Yeah, and then you got the guy in who's leading the charge on it, so I would imagine it's the rabbit holes will be endless.
Oh my gosh, I just... You know, as I was doing the prep work for this and looking at his website, Operation Underground Rescue, or O.U.R.rescue.org, I was thinking to myself, this is huge. I mean, it's massive. I don't know what the current numbers are on how big it is, but
about to find out.
We're going to find out for sure. So if you are listening, this is your first show. Marcus and I want you to understand, we really appreciate you being here. We do this because this is our way to keep serving, but more importantly, it's a way to serve you, to teach you the things that we've learned in our incredible lives as SEALs and working for the government and the things that we do now, but also our ability to share and bring on amazing human beings, right? I mean, Marcus, we've had some just in this group alone.
Oh, great human beings. I mean, so blessed into have the opportunity to do this, because every time we bring somebody on, you learn something new.
I don't know. I mean, and over the last few days, there's been probably 3 or 4 times my mouth was wide open.
To bring people into the show who blow our minds, we got a full house.
I mean, it's been overwhelming, and I just got a sense, I got a feeling, maybe it's God talking to me, as I love to try and feel that on a regular basis, but I got a sense that Tim Ballard, who's our guest, the founding member and guy who started this, is going to come on and deliver information that's going to, expand people's awareness of how prevalent evil is around. And you and I both have seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere. It's just we refuse. We try and really contain it or compartmentalize the truth of it. Otherwise, it'd be too overwhelming, right?
Oh, yeah, you have to. It's the only way you can function in life.
You got to put it at bay. But this, I believe, I think every person in America, every person in the world should be aware of how significant the human sex trafficking and sex slave
we're about to bring it to the front.
We are.
At least for an hour.
We are. So, I'm not even going to go anywhere else. I just want to, without further ado, let's bring Mr. Tim Ballard on air. Marcus, listen, man. Normally I come out and I'm over the top. I feel like I'm gonna bust out at my seams. But this one is different, dude, because this one, man, I feel God in my heart right now with the man that's coming on this show. I feel, as I'm sitting here staring at his face on that screen, I feel God is about ready to come and drop some knowledge on it. I don't know if you're feeling that, but I'm feeling that right now, brother.
All right, well, let's see.
So, listeners, I want you to realize that it's rare in your life that you have an opportunity to truly work one of God's, or listen to, or meet, or be a part of, or exposed to one of God's true apostles. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Tim Ballard. Tim, thank you for coming on, brother.
Wow, thank you. That was an amazing introduction. I don't feel
He's good
worthy
at
of
those,
that,
right?
But I appreciate it.
He gets those feelings in the morning when they make you feel good. I feel good for you, Tim.
I can't help it, dude. I mean,
No, it's good. Hey,
when God comes inside, man, you got to let him out, right? And we do that by sharing with each other our true emotions. And all right.
Good.
Well, Tim, man, before we get into your greatest never quit story or stories and all that, we gotta loosen up a little bit. And the way we loosen up, the way we stretch out and loosen up and try and get a little blood flow to all of Marcus's steel that is keeping his spine and his body.
Yeah. Talk about that power surge and that cold weather shift.
I never asked you when you got
metal moving.
I never asked you when you got struck by lightning. Did your metal feel weird?
I could feel it, and every now and again I'll make a turn or something like that, and I can feel it as well. But when my teeth were floating real bad, and my hands were numb, and every spot that I had all that metal was numb.
That's another.
It didn't hurt, but I just long story too.
All right, Tim.
I can't believe you were struck by lightning, Marcus.
A couple of, what is it now?
October, end of September, October.
October, right?
Yeah,
I got hit.
Jeez.
It's unbelievable.
It's been an interesting few months.
Yeah,
to say
caught
the
me on
least.
fire, knocked me out. It was a good one.
And like I show up and he drops that. He's like, dude, I just got struck by lightning yesterday. I was like, what?
All the TVs, the DVD, everything was blown out, right? And I got blown out too, man, into this garbage can. Man, we can talk about it later.
All right, dude. And don't worry if you go down a rabbit hole. That's good on this show, Tim. That's what we look forward to.
Okay, good, because I'm good at that. So.
All right, awesome.
So are we.
All right. Oh my God, you are the best on the planet on it. All right, so we're gonna get started. We're gonna warm up. We're gonna exercise your gray matter. We're gonna push your cognitive reconstruction right now. With the Mad Minute. And the Mad Minute is a rapid fire, first thing pops in your mind, type answer questions, and then maybe a little bit of explanation if we get the doozies, which we always do. And that's how we roll. So are you ready, Tim?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, Marcus, you fire away, bud.
All right, favorite superhero?
Superman.
It's 2 in a row, right?
Thank you very much. All right. Have you ever felt invincible, Tim?
No.
Nice.
Favorite movie character you'd like to play out in real life?
Indiana Jones. These are easy.
Negates mine.
Your next question, doesn't it? All right, if you had to get in a fight with one, who would it be? Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone?
Wow. I'd probably go with Arnold. He's looking a little flabbier than Sly these days.
Yeah, we got. You know what we got to do, because that's becoming the recurrent. All right, Arnold from Commando and Sly from Rambo 2.
Ooh, okay.
What about Rocky 4?
Is Marcus with me, or am I by myself?
Yeah, no, you got Marcus. You got Marcus for sure. Go ahead, Marcus. Fire away, bud.
Sing a song as good as the artist who sings it. Super Bowl halftime. What song would it be?
What song? Man. I'd have to go with the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah.
That's what I'd go with.
Who threw out Gaga the other
who would
day?
I have sing it? I'd have Alex Boyer sing it.
No,
You know
you're
who he is?
singing it.
No, you're singing,
it.
bud. You're singing.
You sing it as good as the person who sings it at Super Bowl halftime. What song would you sing?
I would sing the Star Spangled Banner, I guess.
Good one. We had somebody come up there.
I think it was Nick Irvin, the Reaper.
The Reaper said Lady Gaga's version of the. It's like, absolutely, Gaga smashed that.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Here you go. Give us one item from your bucket list.
I'd like to skydive. Never done that.
I got a parachute downstairs.
Yeah, we just got a parachute in the mail downstairs that we
True story.
It is a true story.
and we didn't order it.
God bless the boss, right? Yeah. One of the things that come in the mail around here would make your head spin, dude. It's awesome.
Well, you're going to have to go with Red on that one, and this is really no secret, man. Marcus Luttrell does not like jumping out of airplanes.
I hated it. I hated it.
At all. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I couldn't stand it, man. I like the water jumps were fun. Daytime water jumps.
Daytime water jumps,
yeah,
right?
and the UDTs. All right. Last question. What is your greatest failure?
Ooh, I have a lot of those. I think my greatest failure is not spending enough time with my kids.
Yeah,
being gone too much.
Amen.
It kills me. It destroys me. So
we both know what that one's like, dude, for sure, man. We talk about it all the
When
time.
they get old enough to understand when you're leaving.
Yeah. No, my daughter today, I was FaceTiming her on her way to school, and she was like, "Papa, why do you have to be gone so much?" And that just rips right through your heart, dude. So, but thanks for being honest. Thanks for the questions. That's our Mad Minute. And so now let's pivot. And Tim, the reason why people come to the Team Never Quit podcast is because they're facing adversity. They're struggling to overcome those unending obstacles that we call the combat of life. They're battling what I call the negative insurgency that's perpetually beating them down. And they're searching for something that they can grab onto, something that they can get a hold of to inspire them, to become great themselves, to become legends themselves, and to be fulfilled with that never quit mindset. So if you could, would you please share with us your greatest never quit story or stories?
Sure, absolutely. It was 2012. I had been a special agent, undercover operator for the U.S. government, for the Department of Homeland Security, working child trafficking cases. Again, doing that for about 12 years at that point. And two things happened within a couple of months of each other. One, I was sent to Bogota, Colombia, to do a training at the U.S. Embassy to train the federal law enforcement in Colombia how to do child trafficking cases, how to find the kids. And we went down there, and you guys have been through government trainings where it's check the box and no one does anything and everyone goes home. Yep. And I was so tired of that I actually made just a decision on the spot while I'm sitting in this room. It's like the leveled seating on about 20 federal agents, Colombian. And I just said, you know what? I closed the laptop and I said, we're not going to do this. I'm not going to do this training. I could get in trouble, but we're going to do a case. We're going to do a real case. We're going to end this training with rescuing kids. So we spent the 3 days devising a plan, and they said, we got to start in Cartagena. That's the country on the coast where there's a lot of tourism and sex trafficking. And so we put together this plan, and the plan required me and my undercover team to come back down and infiltrate the market there, because these traffickers like to deal with Americans, because Americans, unfortunately, are the ones who are traveling and engaging in sex with these kids. So it's a lot easier for Americans to access the real traffickers. So we set it up, and I said, I'll be back, and I'm excited, and I went home, and then something else happened about that same time, and it'll make sense, both these stories. I met a man from Haiti who, his name is Gesno Marty, and Gesno, he has 6 children, and one of his kids was born in the United States while him and his wife were on an extended campaign to raise money for their orphanage. Right. They run an orphanage in Haiti, and during that time, the little boy named Gardy was born, and then moved back to Haiti, and Gardy was kidnapped from his church. 3 years old, kidnapped, trafficked, and so I come home from Colombia and I meet this man for the first time, and he's telling me his story. And I had read his story because the boy was born in Utah. I was living in Utah at the time. And so I flew him up and I said, tell me about your son and who's looking for him. And he proceeded to tell me that no one was looking for him. That it fell outside the purview of the U.S. government because it was a case dealing in Haiti. And he told me, he said, Tim, he said, I asked him, what's being done to find your child? And he said, well, let me ask you a question, Tim. He says, do you have children? I said, yeah, I've got kids. And he said, could you sleep at night knowing that one of your kids' beds was empty? Oh. You had no idea where that child was. I said, there's no way I could even think about sleeping. He says, well, I haven't slept since Gardy was taken. And he proceeded to tell me that every night he arbitrarily picks some neighborhood in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and walks down the street hoping that he'll hear his son cry.
Oh.
And I said, and I'm just crying. I'm listening to this story. And then I said, Guestar, that is a really bad investigative plan. I mean, we got to help you. So I had made these two promises. I'm going to help this man in Haiti find his son, and I'm going to help the Colombian authorities do a big trafficking case that we had planned.
Big. And
then within a couple of weeks, I come to realize I can't do either in my current job. The government was very clear. I can't. These are cases that are outside the purview of the U.S. government. There's no budget for it. There's no mandate for it.
Right.
And I couldn't argue with them. They were good guys. I mean, they were right. I had promised something I couldn't deliver, and so I came home talking to my wife, and I was like, I gotta quit.
Wow.
I've made these promises, but I can't do anything. And my wife, bless her soul, who is just 100 times better than I am in every way, she said, well, you've got to fulfill the promise. Now, mind you, I've got 6 kids, right?
Oh my gosh.
She says, the only way you're going to be able to save these kids is if you quit your job. You got to quit your job and go find them. And I said, are you crazy?
You
I mean,
got to quit the job that you were doing that was designed for you to go do that in order to go do it.
It's nuts.
Right. But
that makes a lot of sense.
I tried every other option. I couldn't even do it on my own time because there's a conflict of interest if I were to do that with my, you've been in the government,
Yep.
you know the different rules, and so I was like, what do I do? And so my wife said, well, let's start a nonprofit and see if someone will come help, and let's get going. Let's go. You got to go find these kids. Well, I can't even fundraise because I as a government agent I can't leave with nothing there.
Yeah.
So luckily I had a friend of mine who's actually, I think, friends with Marcus as well, Glenn Beck.
Oh, yeah.
And Glenn, I was just with him last week. I was on a show last week. I said, Glenn, I told Glenn my predicament. And, unbelievable guy. Because I was in the room with his attorneys when I told him the story. They said, there's no way, Glenn, you can do this. You can't get involved in rescuing. You're a broadcaster. You're a news guy. And Glenn looks at his attorney with tears in his eyes, and he says, I will not meet my maker one day and tell him I did nothing.
Wow.
So he says, Tim, what do you need? So Glenn raised me the money in about 3 weeks' time, and it was enough to get me through like maybe 6 months before I had no food on my table.
Yeah.
So I'm still scared out of my mind. So I got to give the credit to my wife on this one. Because I remember one point, even when the money started coming in, I said, I can't do it. It's not enough. I mean, I had a government pension waiting for me. I had 8 more years and I was done forever.
Wow.
Right? And if I walk away now, I lose it all. And I won't get the job back very easily if I walk away from it. And I said, hon, I was telling my wife, this path looks so clear ahead. This stay with the government, get my pension. This path over here is dark and
muddled,
mysterious. And then she said something. She basically said the same thing Glenn told his attorney, right? She said, wait a minute. When you factor God into the equation, and we had felt called many times, several experiences where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to do this.
Yep.
And she said, when you think about that meeting that Glenn referenced, you're going to have that meeting with your maker. And now how do those two paths look? And all of a sudden, that image of meeting my maker, all of a sudden the path that looked light before became dark, and the dark path looked bright,
Just opened up.
Because I was going to have a good meeting with him. So December of 2013, I turned in my gun and my badge, and the pressure. I mean, Glenn, right? Glenn sticks his neck out. If I don't deliver something, I mean, he had his people.
That's kind of what I was going to say. This is absolute now when you got somebody backing you when you're out there talking the talk, and then it's like, all right, here you go.
But it's faith driven though, right? And you're feeling that.
That's the thing. If I didn't have that, if I didn't have the faith part of it, it never would have happened, because I knew that I was supposed to do it, and so I knew that God wouldn't ask me to do something that He didn't provide a way for me to accomplish. Right. So off we went. The first tickets we bought to Haiti and to Colombia. And I grabbed a team. I put together a team, and it was actually the best team I'd ever worked with because, when you're in the government, you're limited to your agency and your unit, right?
Yep.
But here I had the advantage. I had guys, I had Army Special Forces guys.
Yeah,
I had
big pool.
a couple of a SEAL who had retired who came with me, a CIA guy. So I had this like dream team where I had every kind of element covered. And I called the Colombians. I said, guys, I'm late, but I'm coming. And by the way, I don't have a badge anymore. I hope that's not going to cause a problem.
One.
Yeah.
And they said, Tim, we didn't care when you had a badge before. It didn't mean anything in our country. I said, yeah. I said, I guess.
You forget that when we're over there, right? You're like, I got these creds here, and they're like, I can't even read that.
Here's my diplomatic passport, and I can do anything, right? Yeah.
So they said, come on down. So we go down. And we start, now this plan, the blueprints had been written up already, but it was like a year and a half earlier. So here we come and we start implementing this plan. So we go into Cartagena and man, it was unbelievable. And really God opened the doors and showed us the darkness.
Wow.
Showed us the worst of the worst. So the Colombians, and we always work with the government. We're not a rogue or a vigilante group, right? So we sit down with the prosecutors and they say, we're so glad you're here. Here's what I need you to do. And they start telling me about these islands called the Baru Islands. It's about an hour boat ride off of the coast of Cartagena.
Uh-huh.
So I need you and your team, they told us, to go sit on the beach. It's called Playa Blanca. This beautiful, classic Caribbean, but kind of primitive still.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of hotels. Just sit on that beach and wait for a trafficker to come up and offer you children. I was like, no way. I've been in this game for 15 years. That's going to happen. They said, yes. But the problem is, like, they're telling me we don't have money to even send our guys out there. There's zero enforcement on these islands, which is why it's a hub for child sex tourism.
Right.
And they can't, it costs like $25, $40 or whatever to get over there. And they don't have that kind of money. We're filling their cars up with gas just to drive from point A to point B. So they said, we've got to attack this island. So I go out there. I'm sitting on the island. I'm not there 15 minutes, and I've got hidden cameras all over.
Right.
I've got sunglasses, hidden camera, water bottle, hidden camera, audio, video. I'm sitting there with three of us. We're sitting there, and this guy walks up to me, calling himself Fuego. He's like, hey, my name's Fuego. He speaks kind of broken English. I speak Spanish, so we start talking.
Fire.
And sure enough, he's like, hey, yeah, Fire. My name's Fire. He's like, I got little girls and little boys. I said, you gotta be kidding me, and we follow all the rules of entrapment. We let them do the talking, just kind of let them kill themselves. So yeah, I got 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds. I can provide them tonight. There's a hotel back there, or you can rent a house. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is unbelievable. 11, 12, or younger. I said, okay, well, listen, I'm not ready right now, but I'm gonna come down with a bunch of guys. In a couple weeks, we want to do a big party. So let's talk some more. So then how it works is these guys are kind of the vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he introduced me to a guy in the mainland named Eduardo.
Right.
So I flew back later to meet Eduardo, and this is where it gets real hairy, because this is where we go into their turf.
Yep.
And I got a Colombian agent with me who's undercover, pretending to be my guide, my taxi driver.
Yep.
And we go to Eduardo's house, which is like, did you ever see Clear and Present Danger?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when they're in the Colombian streets.
Yeah.
And it looked like that neighborhood. In fact, I was just driving in. I was thinking of that scene.
Wow.
Like, dude, this is a good place to be
ambushed.
Just ambushed right here. And there's just three of us, and we walk up into this guy's condo apartment, and he's got his thugs around, and he's got his. It turns out one of them was a local cop who was on his payroll.
Oh my God.
And they're armed, and they're watching us, and we got nothing but
cameras,
yeah. And if they check us, and our guys, we're good. My team, we have, these guys who have years of undercover experience. So we know how to talk our way in and out and whatever. So we sit down, and this guy starts pulling out the pictures of these little girls as young as 9 years old.
Oh.
He brings a couple of them into the room, and he says, these are the ones you're going to have. And then and I had this thought, I'm like, man, we've got to make this big.
Yeah.
And he's not going to introduce me to his competitors unless I compel him to introduce me to his competitors and bring all the kids from Cartagena that are being sold right now. So I told him, I said, I'm not just interested in a weekend party. I said, I'm interested in your business plan. I mean, we want to be part of this. And so he starts opening up a little bit. He said, well, let me tell you something. I have some, Fuego's out on the Badu Islands. He's like, I have a couple acres I purchased on the islands out there.
Wow.
And the idea is I'm going to build a hotel. It looks like a hotel, but it's going to be nice and beautiful. And it's going to look like a modeling school for children, but it's actually going to be a brothel where Americans can come and engage. And I said, well, I'm interested in investing in this. I mean, this is big business. And it truly is. The guy knows. I mean, these kids are sold for double the price of what you'd buy a prostitute for, right?
Right.
So it's big business. It's bigger than drugs. I mean, because you sell a kilo of drugs once. You sell a kid. These kids are sold 20 times a day. And I'm not exaggerating. So it's big money. So he says, I need about $1 million to finish the project. I said, man, I can get that for you. I said, but you're only showing me that you have 12 kids. That's not enough to convince me that this is a worthwhile investment. Show me you got 50, and now we can talk. And so I saw him thinking, and I knew what he was thinking.
Yeah.
Do I call my competitors?
Yep.
So he says, okay, come back in a couple weeks. Let's talk. So I come back, and sure enough, he brought them all to the table.
All of them, huh?
All of them. And we're sitting at this little restaurant on this little hut on the beach of Cartagena, and he brings them all out. And one of them, and this shows how these guys operate. So one of them is this woman named Kelly Suarez. She's beautiful. She's like 25 years old. She's like a famous model.
What?
She was Miss Cartagena. She was Miss Cartagena like 2 years earlier. She's in like Colombian music videos, and they use her, and she knows exactly what she's doing, right?
Yep.
They use her to recruit the kids.
Yep.
Because they go, and so some of the parents don't even know. So they go to a 9-year-old girl or boy and say, hey, we want to, I'm going to give you a scholarship to my modeling school.
Yep.
And the parent, and they tell the parents, your child's too beautiful to, she can be rich and famous like me. And these families, of course, buy into it, and they send their kids.
Wow.
And then they slowly desensitize them. Right after a couple months, they show them some porn, give them some drugs, and then they say, look, part of the job is you're going to go in that room, and an American man is going to come, and you're going to do what he says. And if you tell your parents what we're doing, everyone's going to be dead. And they know how to break these kids down, so they're scared to death. And so that's what they were running, this kind of this situation, and getting to how we can operate where I couldn't before in the government.
Yeah.
These guys are saying, well, who's your investor? Who's your investor? Well, I need a guy who's got a backstop that will protect him and protect us. So who do I show to them? If I have a wealthy investor, there's going to be a paper trail on them. There's going to be something on the internet, right?
Yeah,
on the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And the government, we don't have that readily available, right? You got to be preparing for years and years and years.
Yep.
So what I did is I went to a guy who had been a donor to us, and I said, look, I'm going to ask you. And he'd actually been training with us too, because he wanted to be a jump team member on our team, but he was getting there. So it's just kind of perfect. And I said, look, this is outside the box. This is risky. I said, but there's about 50 kids we can rescue.
Wow.
Would you be willing to play yourself? So you're going to give him. No, he was able to change his name.
Cool. That's good.
But the pictures on his Facebook page, and how clearly this guy's been around for a long time. So we took the security measures we could,
but it's easy. It's easy to connect.
Oh yeah. So when these Colombian guys started checking him out on the social media, they're like, this guy's legit. And there's pictures with him. He was a very wealthy real estate investor. So there's pictures of him with jets and mansions, and they're like, this guy's legit. So they totally bought into it. And so basically it culminated on October 14th on the island. We rented a little cabana on one of the islands near to where Eduardo had purchased his property. And they brought, I'm not kidding you, 54 kids to the party. It was going to be a real sex party, but also it was showing the product, showing that they can do this.
This is the collateral.
Yes. Exactly, and the Colombians are, of course, it's their show. I mean, I want to give them the credit. We're just assisting them. So they're on the island. They're pretending to be our butlers and maids and everything, and they're all packing and they're all like protecting and And we told the bad guys, look, you come over here, you better not bring one. If you bring one gun, deal's over, and you're going to be patted down. I'll bring my own security. You're going to be patted down. Cause this guy I'm bringing from the States is big, and so they all got patted down, and so now we have them on our island. Now they're on our turf.
Yeah.
The thing got so big. I don't have time to describe it all, but we actually had similar things going on in Medellin, Colombia, and in Armenia, Colombia.
All at the
we
same
had a total
time.
of all the same time. So we had a total because we just kept digging deeper and deeper into their networks.
Right.
So we had 121 trafficking victims
Souls
showing up at the same time all over this country.
Oh my gosh, Tim.
So the deal it went down just as planned. They exchanged the money. It was a pretty big deal just for that day. But then they were talking the numbers, and we gave them the sign once they said the right things and gave us the money. And man, the Colombian agents stormed that beach, and everyone went down. You could go to if you Google CBS News. It was so big people wouldn't believe us.
Right.
So we actually brought CBS Nightly News.
Oh my gosh.
To prove this is real and to show the world. So if you were to Google CBS News, Tim Ballard, you'll see the story. Everything I'm describing, you're going to watch.
Oh my God.
Because we video everything.
Yeah.
For evidence, right?
Right.
So 15 traffickers end up going down in 1 hour, and 121
souls.
Yeah.
And
unbelievable.
What happens to those kids, Tim?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So we have a whole aftercare department. That's to me the most important part of the whole program. So we won't even do an operation until I've sent my director of aftercare to vet out the aftercare partners in that country.
Right.
We never sit back and let the governments we work with take care of that. Even though they ultimately have the final say, we tell them we will not help you unless you work with this and this agency who we have vetted out.
Right.
And we know that they can take care of these kids. Half the kids can't go home.
Ever again, right?
Right, because a lot of times the parents were sincerely duped and they didn't know. And, in those cases, they don't even know where their kids are. Sometimes this happens in Guatemala and the kids end up going not to Guatemala City, but to Cartagena, Colombia.
Right.
And the parents never hear a word. And they're like poor indigenous families that have no recourse.
Right.
So in those cases, of course, we get the kids back to their families. But in the case, not most of the time, but,
a good portion.
A good portion of the time, the families know. They're on the take.
They're complicit.
It's something that a parent I can't comprehend, but I see it enough to know that it's real, right? Mm-hmm. And so that means when we partner with an agency, we have to make sure that agency can raise that child.
Yeah.
Get that kid into college. Like that's the goal.
Right.
Or into some occupational program. And so that's why we make sure we don't partner with agencies that don't have that. And if they don't have the resources, we follow up. Like I'll get to the Haiti case.
Yeah. Please, I was going to get you there. I'm sorry. I literally have about 50 million questions every 30 seconds for you, but I don't want to interrupt you.
I know I'm kind of going rapid fire through this. I'm skipping a lot of the details. So any question you have.
Okay.
But our team goes back. We go back and we know these kids. We don't forget. They're our family. Especially in the Haiti case, which I'll tell you about right now. So that case is happening simultaneously. We're in Haiti.
You did two operations at the same time.
Yeah, we were literally bouncing back and forth between Colombia and Haiti.
Oh my gosh, Tim!
In this first year, going back and forth. So it was a very successful case. Before I go to Haiti, let me finish this though, because this is kind of our model is we go in and do this, and then now these guys have the tools. Right. They've never done it before, and now they can do it without us.
Yep.
So you guys see what we did, and by the way, we have a whole digital forensics program that we bring in and teach them how to use the internet, do online investigations, how to go on undercover. These kids are being sold online on Craigslist and social media. They're being sold on escort sites, and we teach them how to manipulate and infiltrate these social media sites to find these guys. I have the best team on the planet. They work out of the University of North Carolina,
right?
In our child exploitation targeting center. So we basically leave these countries with these tools, and then we can kind of slowly move out but we keep tabs on them.
Right.
So after that Colombia operation, we went back into those same parts of Colombia about 3 months later with a different group of American faces, right?
Yeah.
Walking around, pretending to be the tourists. And man, nobody would even talk about selling kids because they were referencing all these stories in the media. Like, are you crazy? You don't ask for kids in this country. You're gonna get shut down. All these Americans have been arrested, and I'm just like trying to keep
Not to smile. Yeah.
I'm like, I heard about
awesome.
something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So then you realize you can shut it down. You can shut it down in a region. You got to keep that deterrent healthy by continuing to do operations. But the Colombians did. They in the weeks after, they were continuing to use the models that we've given them, and to this day they are using the models, and they're keeping that deterrent alive and well, and that protects kids. I mean, this is how we can rescue kids who never knew they needed rescuing, and they never will know, right? Because they were never taken in the first place. So that's kind of our model. So, and we can come back to that just if you have any questions. But I want to get into Haiti.
Yeah, please do. If you're ready.
No,
I'm ready. Well, I'm not ready because I'm telling you right now, my stomach are in knots. My heart hurts. I can if I think about it enough, I'm gonna get emotional here, dude. So it's not all right, but we have to hear this, and I really appreciate you sharing this stuff. I got to tell you, thank you.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity because we can't rescue more kids without people getting involved, and that's really that's the bottom line. I mean, that's one of the great benefits of being a private organization is we can and will and should talk about it.
Right.
Like with you and others. Any great problem that we've had in the world that's gone away, it didn't go away because the governments by themselves took care of the problem. And that's not a rip on the government. My best client and my best partners are my former colleagues. We work hand in glove. But child trafficking, we're talking about, there's millions of kids in this. There's more people alive today that are enslaved than ever before.
In human history, I read that.
In human history.
Yeah, I read that.
And it gets even worse. We talk about, we eradicated slavery in this country and so forth, or at least a legalized form of slavery. Well, if you added up all those slaves we read about in history over 300, 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade, add them all up, right?
Yep.
And there's still more living slaves right now than all of those over those hundreds of years.
Wow.
It's over 35 million people in slavery today, and millions are children. It's estimated that about 6 million of those are children.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. And it's just a number until you get in the field, until you sit on the beach.
And you see those faces of those children.
And in 10 minutes, someone comes up and offers you a 12-year-old, right?
Could you please share the Haiti experience for us?
People walking around in a world that exists around them and you don't even see it unless you're absolutely until you decide to look for it, right? And then it's right there in your face.
That's you look for it.
That's the most poignant thing, that we need to understand is that it's on us to look for it.
Yes. So, it's a proactive endeavor, and most law enforcement agencies, including in the United States, don't have a lot of time to do proactive stuff because they're dealing with reactive, like homicides and the dead body. They got to investigate this. The kid's not going to drop on your lap.
No.
You have to be proactive. You've got to go in search of. Just like the pedophiles go in search of, they find it, so we can find it.
Yeah.
You got to go in search of. So Haiti. Now this case was just so personal, and it continued to get more and more personal as I went down this path, because there's a real father here who I'm relating with, and I've made a promise to. So we go down there, and he was telling me, he said, look, there's one person involved, that there's one lead.
Yeah.
There's a woman. Her name is Ivros. She was involved somehow, and the police knew because one guy was arrested in the case. His name was Carlos, and he was someone who had been fired by Gesno. He worked at the orphanage. He was embezzling money, got fired, and then in retribution, he connected with these thugs, and they said, let's kidnap the kid. We'll ransom him off. And Carlos thought, I'll get the kid back to his father. But the kid knew him. So he literally walked into church. The kid he went to the same church.
Oh.
Took the kid by the hand, said, hey, come over here. Threw him on a motorcycle of some thug trafficker, and off they went.
That was it.
And witnesses saw enough, and the phone records confirmed Carlos was involved. So they arrested Carlos. Now, Carlos was calling constantly during this time to this woman named Yvros. And why she's interesting is that she has a compound full of kids. But it's not an orphanage. It's not a registered orphanage, so she can't adopt kids. So what's she doing with all these kids? Now, you understand, in Haiti, Haiti's a country, and you guys I know have visited places like this, right? Where it's,
I've done missionary work in Haiti and did some similar fact finding, not on the level you did, but definitely did some. And where our church was building something, like I got out there and did an intel package because I have some experience in all that, and so I know that place well.
So, like in the U.S., if there was a woman or a group that was holding 28 kids in a compound, someone would say something. Not necessarily in Haiti. Haiti is like it's like the book Lord of the Flies, right? It's just like it's complete chaos. So if someone would see that, they'd be like, "Oh, there's another mom and pop orphanage or whatever," and no one would say anything. So because people ask, "How is this woman able to even do this?" So she's at this compound, and the police said, "Yeah, we believe she's a person of interest, but she won't let us in. We can't get in there." I mean, I'm like, "Well, get a warrant." Like, we can't really do that, and we have to have more evidence. It's just bizarre to me because I could think of 100 ways I could do it in the United States, but it's Haiti. So, and they told me, "You can't get in there. She's not going to let you in there." I said, "Oh, we will get in there. I promise you, we'll get in there." So I went down with my team, and two of us, we walked in with hidden cameras.
Yeah.
And, it was scary. We're walking in. She's got her thugs around, and we're just like, "Hey, word on the street up in the States is that this is where you can pick up kids." That's all we said.
Are you kidding? Just
and
that
they looked at us.
blatant?
Yeah, and they're just like, they opened the gate. Like, come on in. Because the chances that Americans are working with the Haitians, it
doesn't
they
add
never
up.
seen it. Right. So they let us in. These kids are in rags. And they bring them out, but the boss, Yvros, wasn't there. It was a very different story when we actually planned. All of a sudden, the kids were dressed a lot differently. But on that first trip, they pulled these kids out. They were living in like these dark rooms.
Yep.
It was just horrible. They bring them out, and the Haitian government asked us to go. If she's selling kids, let her sell you one, and get it in a sting operation. Let's prove that that's what she's doing. And also, is Gardy there? Is Gardy anywhere in here? So we went in there, and I had to pick. I had to pick one of these kids to buy.
Oh my God, the pressure of that, brother.
Yeah. And this little kid comes walking around the corner, tiny little guy in these enormous shoes that were probably 5 sizes too big for him, and my heart just melted. I don't know why. It was God. Yep. I know that. I said, I'm gonna buy. I want that one. And now Haiti, Haiti is one of the highest per capita trafficking countries. Slave labor, organ harvesting,
everything,
and sex trafficking. A lot of the girls get sent across the border into Dominican Republic.
Yep.
So we followed that over. We've done 2 sting operations. We've rescued about 60 kids in Dominican Republic as a result of following the trafficking trails. Yeah. But a lot of it, I'd say probably 80% is slave labor in Haiti. They have, if you've heard them talk about the Restavix,
yes,
it's this system of legal. It's like culturally accepted slavery.
Yep.
Where the kids are sent to work for mostly in the rural parts of Haiti. It's horrible. It's horrifying. And then they are then contracted out to work on the Dominican side, all along the Dominican border with Haiti. It's avocado plantations, and these kids are forced labor. It's unbelievable. So we go in there, and I pick up this little kid, and I'm holding him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my heart's melting. I'm like, I'm gonna buy him. And Yvros, she's not there the first day. The second day we go, she has the kids all dressed up nice this time because we caught her off guard, but she had sold enough kids that she believed it was reasonable that we would know to come here. And she starts telling us, "Yeah, I sell kids." And we even said, "Well, wouldn't it be safer to adopt them?" She's like, "No, I don't do that. It's $10,000. You pick whatever one you want, no questions asked. Take the kid." Just heartbreaking. So, because I know what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
You got these wealthy guys in the Middle East and other places that don't want to wait for a heart for their kid, so they just send their operator to Haiti and buy a kid and
take the heart
out and dump the body. I mean, it's horrifying, but this is the reality. So I'm holding this little kid, knowing what his future could be if we weren't here, and it's hard being undercover. I mean, I finally stopped. I'm after 15 years. I've thrown in the towel. Plus, I've done some media because it's so hard. It is so hard to and I've got to pretend like I want this kid, or sometimes we got to pretend that we want to have sex with these kids. I mean, and convince the trafficker. So you can imagine how heart-wrenching this is. So I take this little kid and I'm walking around, and I have my other operators kind of keeping Avros occupied because I'm looking for Gardy. And I'm seeing there's 28 kids around, and I couldn't get to every corner, but I couldn't find him.
Right.
But then this other little girl is following me where I'm going, and I'm kind of trying to get her away. I don't want to cause attention, right? To me. So I pull out a chocolate bar. It turns out these kids are all on the verge of starvation. You can tell because their little tummies are already starting to protrude, and their eyes are gray. Yeah, it's just horrible. And I gave her a chocolate bar, and she does something that I've never seen any of my kids at least do. She instead of running away with it, she breaks it in half and runs towards me and puts it into the hands of the little boy. And she's starving.
You're awesome, brother. You are awesome, man. No, it's all right. You're awesome. And God is speaking through you right now.
So, anyway, there's brother and sister, right? So we go down, and this is the hard part, right? You want to do this in the op, and you can't.
You can't.
The whole thing's blown, right? So we go back down, and I say, look, I want this kid, but is this his sister? She's like, oh, no. And I knew. I mean, I knew inside, not just from the candy bar thing. I knew. I said, don't lie to me. She's like, fine, yeah, they are, but it doesn't matter. And I can't act like I care too much.
Right.
But I'm just looking at this woman like, you're just an absolutely evil human being. Not only you're selling kids, but you're not even trying to. I mean, all this little kid has in his whole world is his sister.
Yeah.
And that's all they have is each other. And you're worried about the sale, right? So I say, well, I need to, and just for the operational purposes, they would be together at least for the day or two that it took. So I said, I want both of them anyway. She's like, fine, that's another 10,000. She's like, in fact, the price is now 15,000 for each. She upped the price. I'm like, whatever. I'm not even going to negotiate. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, and we end up getting the money back, of course, at the end of the op. But so we pay for the kids. We do the op, and we're able to rescue all the kids. Get them out of there, get them in good places. Evros goes to jail. Her daughter goes to jail. Carlos is in jail. We shut the place down and get the kids into good places. And then something happens. See, the story's not over.
Right.
Gardy wasn't there.
Yeah,
Gardy wasn't there. And we had a couple of leads though come out, and we're closer than ever to Gardy. I mean, we're working every day in Haiti. I have a team constantly there, up in the region where Restavic's.
Right.
So we have good leads on that, and offline I can tell you guys more about what we're doing.
Please.
In Haiti right now. So that night I'm in bed and I'm happy. First let me tell you about Gesno. This is the kind of guy Gesno is. You should have him on your show someday.
I would love to.
He's one of our best friends. I said, Gesno, I'm so sorry. Gardy wasn't there. And this man took maybe 10 seconds to grieve that fact.
Yeah.
My son wasn't there. He's like, okay. He says, but what about the 28 kids? I said, they're all safe. They're all out. They're all safe. And he said, good. And then he said something I'll never comprehend in my life. I'll never be able to be this kind of person that he is. He said, I want you to know that if I had to lose my son so that you and your team could come and rescue those 28 kids, and that if I never see my son again, but knowing those 28 kids were rescued as a result of my son being taken, then that's a burden I'm willing to bear for the rest of my life. Huh. And I just looked at him and just like, I'll tell you what, brother, I wouldn't say that. I couldn't honestly say that. I don't know how, but I believed him. It was real.
Right.
And he's just crying. I mean, he's saying this through tears. So he is so, in fact, excited and happy that these kids are rescued.
Right.
Instead of being bitter, like, well, they're rescued, worried about my kid, he brings a lot of those kids into his orphanage to take care of them.
Oh my God.
So So here's where the story gets even more interesting.
Are you kidding me?
And I'm going to try not to cry here. But I probably will cry. So I'm laying in bed that night, and I'm thinking, it's kind of bittersweet, like I just had this talk with a guest, but the kids are safe. And I bonded with those two little kids so much. I mean, more than I ever had. And I've been doing this for over a decade, right? So I've been here before, but I couldn't get those kids out of my mind. And and when that happens, that's when I kneel down and I pray. I say, God, take these kids out of my mind. I can't. I've got to emotionally detach, or I can't go on. Because it's really hard, you bond with these kids because again, you picture where their lives would have been, and now they're this way, and you want to make sure that they have all the happiness they can have.
It's a weight I can't fathom. It's amazing that you can even have it. I mean, it's a part of your entire. It is your existence to bear that weight yourself. I'm sorry. I'm in awe of you right now. And
believe me, if I didn't have faith and I wouldn't care. I couldn't carry this burden. It's a burden that you never let go.
Ever.
But these two kids in particular, I couldn't get out of my head, and so I kneel down and I pray, and God usually takes care of it right away. Like, boom, they're gone. Tim, move on. I will take care of them. Don't worry. But that's not what happened during this prayer. The more I prayed, the more I saw them. I saw them more and more and more in my head, and it was kind of devastating because they were with me in the police station after the op, and they were just hugging me, like they just loved me, and they were hugging me, and then I had to go testify before the judge, and then I came back, and they were gone. The child services had come in and taken them to put them to house them.
Right.
And they wouldn't tell me where they were, and they said you can't see them. That's our laws. I mean, which I understood. You got to isolate them from anyone else because they're victims, right?
Right.
And so I couldn't access them yet, and I didn't even know where they were. And I had these two little teddy bears that I had brought for them that they were holding.
Yeah.
And I remember walking into that room and seeing the two teddy bears just sitting there.
Left.
Just sat. And I had a buddy with me. Again, another guy you know, Marcus. You remember Mark Mabry? Do you remember Mark?
Oh, yeah.
He interviewed you. So Mark Mabry was with me on this whole trip.
Right.
He's one of my buddies, and he's one of our digital evidence guys that takes photos. So I just held Mark. I just hugged Mark, like, dude, like these kids are gone,
Yeah.
And so I don't know what to do. God's not giving me what I want. So I call my wife, middle of the night. I'm like, hey, can you come down here? Like, I'm struggling. Like, what? You've never asked me. You've been all over the world. You've never asked me to come on an operation. And I said, well, that's over, but I just want you to meet these two kids. And I hadn't even thought more than that.
Right.
But she says to me, you want to adopt those kids. And I had, again, never thought that, especially given the circumstances of my family where I already have 6 kids. I'm already gone all the time. Like, there's no way I'm going to put that on my wife. And I said, no, that's not what I'm thinking. And then there's just silence on the other line. I was like, yes? Is that what I'm thinking? Like, what?
She knows you.
Hell, why? Pull that out again. I'm not thinking that, am I? I am thinking that.
And bless her soul, man, if she doesn't take 2 seconds and comes right back and says, I don't need to come down. Because she's more faith. Her relationship to God is greater than mine, right? And she just says to me, she says, I don't need to come down. If you need to go, just get the paperwork. Just go start doing it. Just start doing it right now.
Wow.
So they're going to be home next, probably February, March.
This is happening now?
This is happening now, man. It's a 3-year process to adopt a child from Haiti, if you can believe that.
Yeah. Well,
But
heard that.
we're about just 4 or 5 months away from bringing them home. I see him all the time. I'm going to go see him. I'm going to bring him Christmas presents next week. I'm going down to see him next week.
You are a living saint, brother.
Congratulations, man.
No, my wife is. My wife is.
I think she's next level up, right? Is there another level?
Don't downgrade her, man.
Yeah. She's an angel, dude. She is an angel of God.
Of those kids, 7 are being adopted right now.
Oh, God bless that.
Families. And the others are good. Like, we're taking care of them. We're bringing them Christmas. We see them. We know where they're at. And that's, again, to us, that's one of the most important parts of our program, is that we follow up with the kids. We make sure they have what they need. And
well, that's what has been just just in my heart right now. Like, really, because we are, the great gift that God gives us is our ability to look towards the future, and our ultimate future, as you could face, is your judgment. And in that future, obviously, what you want to believe is that there are a lot of positive outcomes for these kids, but I'm sure there's negative ones as well too, that they don't make it. They're back into slavery, and
absolutely.
And
there's times when they don't heal, and the older ones will sometimes run away from the shelters we provide them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we rescue adults, that get caught up in the net, but we can't make them get healed. We can't make them come to our healing centers, and you watch them go back. Yeah, it's not all positive.
Yeah, it's not all happy endings for sure at all. Yeah. My question now is, and Marcus, let me know if you're thinking this too, is, obviously you have, I mean, just me sitting here in this seat, and I know Marcus well enough now to where I can see when he changes a little bit, and Marcus presents and not the one that you want to ever have in front of you in a bad way. And obviously you have recruited this ultimate team, these people that are drawn to you by your voice, by your passion, by God's word speaking through you, God's action speaking through you. What happens to the men that you bring onto the team, the women you bring on the team? Because you watch this transformation. Obviously, there's an initial, I want to help, I want to change, I want to go and seek vengeance or rescue, and what that spark. But you see the real world change when that reality of evil presents itself to hard men and hard women. What do you witness in your teammates?
Oh man, it is. We prepare them. First of all, we prepare them very well beforehand. We tell them, like, look, you're going to go in and see something you've never seen in your life. You won't believe that humanity is capable of this kind of thing. And so we bring them in slowly, right? Like the first operation, they'll be sitting in the wings, kind of watching, pretending to be just drinking a beer in the background while the deals are being done. And then some of them don't make it past that. They just come and say, I can't. Like, I'm going to, if you put me within arm's reach of the guy, I will reach out and strangle him. And I said, I understand that feeling, go fundraise for us.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not gonna put you in. But the one thing that always happens to everybody, I mean, you got these guys who are tough, and they've seen crazy things, right, in their lives. But there's always that moment where you come home, usually in the op, and you guys can relate with this. In the op, you could probably see anything and be fine.
Yeah.
Because you're dialed in.
Mission focus. Yeah.
It happens afterwards, right? You come back, and then there's, it happens to me all the time. I mean, I see, and we have a psychiatrist, a psychologist on staff who volunteers his time and travels and meets our guys. Because I couldn't even begin to describe the things we've seen. Things happening to children that I wouldn't even begin to describe, and people wouldn't believe was physically possible. But it's beyond terrifying. You couldn't even dream up in your mind before you saw it. So I'll be with these hardened men and women, and they're just bawling. We're crying like babies. Like, after it's all over, we're in a room, we're talking about it, and it's just, it happens to me. I'll be sitting in a movie or a church, and it'll be 2 weeks after the op happened. Or
that's when it's not up to you when it hits you at all.
Oh, it's not up to you at all, man. It can just be, I see a little kid, and boom, it reminds me of something, and I'm just, and my wife knows, just she insulates me, and where we're at.
And you've got to work through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
Tim, I mean, obviously you being the founder and this is your life. I mean, obviously your family, your wife is your life. God is your ultimate life. How do you help people? Try and describe how present God is every day, right? Because Marcus and I talk about it, in our own unique way, that, when things get heavy or got heavy, you just know, right? The presence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about it a lot, that God is there.
Yeah. There's a song that I can't listen without just getting super emotional, by Alabama, called I believe about the angels.
Angels Among Us.
Angels Among Us.
Angels Among Us, yeah.
I can't listen to that song. I can't tell you how true the principles are in that
at
song.
the end, man. When the chorus.
You guys know the song I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
absolutely.
And Marcus, I've read your book, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. But people have asked me, how do you sit across from
Evil.
guys and evil and still believe in God? How can God exist when these evil things are happening? And I said, you know what? You might understand the answer to this, but some of my most spiritual experiences
Are in that moment.
in my life have been while sitting across the table buying and selling children. And it's because I'm telling you, in those dark moments, angels are with us. Like, I know it. I mean, and the more I do it and the more I pay attention, the more I
feel it.
I feel that they are there, and things happen. Doors open that shouldn't open, right?
Yep.
A gun lands at my side,
Right.
but it shouldn't have landed at my side, referencing Marcus and stuff. Like, that stuff happens to us all the time. And I'll tell you what, and I've been doing this for 15 years, and it's very rare. Sometimes it happens. It's very rare to find someone who can make it in this that does not have that kind of belief system.
The faith. The
That
true
faith.
faith, the blind faith, the driving faith, the faith of that apostle. I mean, because you are doing the real work of God. You are going into the lion's den, and you're able to keep your cool, your focus, your clarity through that strength, man. How long does it take you, after to process, get back up, and go back out the door?
It takes a long time. And something else we do, I should mention, right before an operation, right before we're about to go in, we send out a prayer request.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I'll have Glenn do it because he's talking to 30 million people. I'll say, Glenn, I can't don't give details. I can't give you details. I need prayers right now. And Glenn will get on the show and just say, guys, O.U.R is doing something right now. Get on your knees if you can. And we believe in that. We feel that, but who has that spiritual influence more than us is the kids that we're going to
bet.
rescue.
That's what I was going to ask you, because they're making it in hell.
Yes.
They're not, I'm sure they're right on the cusp of death, but there's something that keeps them alive. And
they have
hope,
that insulation.
Right? I mean, that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps the guys going back in there, man. Is you go down into hell for kids. You go anywhere for kids, man.
Yep.
So who cares how much pain you got to take to get them out of there?
anything.
That's the rub, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I almost quit. Look, I got to give it to my guys who have the. I think way more of my guys than I think of me.
Right.
Because I see that they do it better than I do. Even though I started it, there's been many times I almost quit. I mean, and it's always my wife usually who picks me back up. But
why did you want to quit? I mean, why? It's just
because of the pain. Because of the pain, and it's embarrassing to say this because, in fact, Marcus said something just now that reminded me. Another thing my wife told me, apart from the hey, picture yourself meeting with your maker, and now your priorities change real quick. But there was one time I remember I came home and collapsed and just thought, I can't. I had seen something again and I couldn't do it. And in her gentle way, but with truth, she's like, Tim, she's like, I know whatever pain you're feeling right now, compare that pain to the pain of the kid you just helped rescue.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I just felt just ashamed.
Totally.
Like
Small.
My pain is nothing. Like how dare that I even discuss my pain?
Right.
Like Marcus said, these kids are in hell. What are you going to do? You're not going to go in there
exactly.
and
And that's what keeps you going, man. The pain you're feeling is theirs, right?
Right. It transfers. No, you're talking transcendental passage of energy, man, and that's what
going
happened.
through what you went through to get to them is one thing, but them sitting down in that. So immediately when you go in there and you know it's over, it's child's eyes, right? They flush everything that was all that emotion that just, if they have the reality check that it's over, hopefully, then you just sucked it all in, because that moment of enlightenment, I would imagine when you get rescued, I know what it's like to get rescued. There's a moment of enlightenment there, and I think that all the happiness that flushes in there, man, it flushes all that bad stuff out, and whoever's standing next to you, usually your savior, right, sucks it all in. So it takes it takes days for you to be back home in the shower, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
And but
yep.
yeah, once you go through that whole emotional ride, then you got to remember there's another one out there. Saddle up. We got to go back.
Get back in it. Always back in the fight.
And you can't do that without your boys, right? And ultimately is when you get the woman, the strength they have.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
My favorite picture is the one where the Hulk's on his knees and she's standing there going, even a woman can tame the most savage beast. Well, that's what they're there for, to contain that. And then when they jerk that chain off is when we go to work. And you have to have somebody to put us back in the cage. Otherwise,
that's right. No, you're dead on, man.
Well, Tim, I'm again, and I don't know. I think I've said this maybe twice or three times in my whole life, because I've been around, I've seen some things, and as a paramedic and working on the streets and in New York City and the greatest, and in San Antonio, the greatest hardship I ever had was picking up kids, right, and seeing the kids in squalor and filth, and going to Haiti and seeing kids eat mud pies for sustenance, and going to the local hospital in Miragwan, and there not being a single antibiotic in the whole place, and watching children dying in those gurneys and feeling helpless, and to know that you exist, I am in awe. And
thank you so much. I have a team that does it way better than me, and I'm just grateful for them. I'm grateful to you guys for helping us. I mean, like I said, we can't solve this problem unless everybody gets involved, and so we appreciate.
So how do we do that? How do the people who are listening to this show right now get involved with you? What can they do? What are everything? Tell us right now, please.
It's our website's pretty good at telling the story and telling how people can help us out. Okay. And whether it's a donation or people have skills that we need, but it's OURrescue.org. It's O.U.R, which is an abbreviation for Operation Underground Railroad. OURrescue.org.
Awesome. Well, Tim, man, all I can say is God bless you, and use us as a tool to help anything you need. Please, we let us help you. So
thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, brother. Anything you need, man.
Awesome.
I'm speechless, brother. I'm absolutely speechless. I don't know. I mean, there were three or four times as he was talking that I was losing it. I don't know if you saw me. I did the old, put my head down, look off to the side.
Armpit sniff.
Yeah. I'm just checking my, But no, I mean that hit me, and I couldn't stop it, because what just kept going through my mind was those kids and that look, especially the story in Haiti, right? Yeah. With the girl with her brother and the candy, and then the way they were holding on. Imagine that look. Right?
I mean, I was trying to think of something we're supposed to be asking questions. I was trying to think of something to say, man, but I just one of them deals where you're standing next to somebody, just, man, shut up, just let them talk. It's tough enough to put yourself in a situation where you have to go into that all the time, and then when you have the kids there staring at you and trying to offshoot. I can only imagine that they're the look in their eyes is, please don't do anything to me. You know what I mean? Then you got animals.
Or don't let go of me.
Right.
This is they've
afterwards,
been,
right. I'm
talking about,
the dude walking in there for a reason, man.
Yeah, you're right. In the beginning.
In the beginning, yeah. But
their little minds racing.
Yeah, because humans are supposed to take care of the children, raise them to be, right? So when you have that going against itself, it's man, I guess it just flips everything on its head. It's so unnatural that it's just uncomfortable to even talk about. Looks like everybody else. I mean, the reason I don't talk about it is I get so damn mad.
Yeah, I saw you. I mean, if this was the video, man, I mean, I saw you, that transition happen to. One other thing I just want to ask you about, because when you said it really hit me hard. It was like I got, smacked in the back of the head or kicked in the temple of Shakabuku. When you talked about being, saved, right? And the transference of that, the eyes and the energy and how that happens and plays out. And I don't know if you can give some reference or some context of what that feels like through your whole body.
Well, you're in a state of survival, right?
Right.
And the unknown is what gets you too. When you're in a position to where every second is unknown to you, and then when that person comes in and you recognize them as kind of a safety net, a safety blanket, then I think, sure, man, it's one of those deals where all that energy, all that emotion that you had been living in up till then just gets pushed right on top of the person, because they first of all, when they look in your eyes, they see it, right?
Yeah.
And then you go from being scared to death to putting everything, everything you got into whoever that is.
Yeah, yeah.
And that person feels it, have to, right? Like, hey, please don't let anything else happen to me, right?
Wow.
So
it says the ultimate trust.
Yeah, right then and there, no words spoken or anything. Probably just throwing it just on top of that person. So it's, and from what he was saying, and from what you and I have been through, man, it's literally the next day you feel that it's like your body's allowed that, or can't hold it back anymore.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Not allowed. It's just, it's already in there.
And it comes out.
Comes right out, man. Right when you let your guard down, probably.
Yeah.
And,
well, you saw it with him, man.
Sure. And that's what I'm saying, man. You can't do that job. I mean, forever. And if you do, man, I would imagine you need to rotate positions. Like, I'll sit in the van on this one.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah. No, it's impossible. I don't think we're built that way.
No, and that's what happens to those of us who stay in these career paths so long, man. That innocent side is gone.
Yeah,
crying. You know what I'm saying? There's two emotions. You're either happy or it's
on the bottom.
Yeah.
Wow, that's profound. I mean, this was one of those shows, man, that I'm just in awe of what he does, his focus, his faith. I mean, how about his wife, man?
Yeah.
I mean, that woman. And watch how she can read him and how tapped in they are together through their faith. I mean, if a guy, so if you're listening right now, right, let's talk to the listener who doesn't have faith like we do, right, or hasn't imagined that they can have faith like Tim and his wife. My comment to you is go back, rewind this thing, and listen to how he describes all those things with utter clarity. And I think that's. I didn't get a chance to ask him, what are the 3 or 4 things that he can tell everybody, to start the process of never quitting, because I think it was so ingrained in his answers that his faith is the starting point.
Yeah, and even for people who don't have faith, man, if you're in a situation like that and that person who comes in and rescues, all your faith goes into that.
And it is faith.
It is, sure. I mean, you believe for the faith, and please don't let anything else happen to me. I mean, the guys who came in and got me out, I still buddies with, and I keep in contact with the medic, especially. Yeah. And every time I see him, that's what happens. That's what rolls into my head.
Yeah.
And just that. You
just want to grab him and say, "Hey, man."
It's weird because I'm a grown man, but when he's standing next to me, I feel safe.
That's cool.
You know what I'm talking about? It's a weird thing. It's a weird transfer. I've never talked about this, but that's the deal. When he's standing there, I feel safe. And we're not even in a weird situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just that connection.
Because he came to get me. Yeah. And he rescued me. He's, they all did, but he's the first face I saw.
It was that linkage.
Sure,
it was the transference of that energy.
So he'd be the one to get on here.
Dude.
You know what I mean?
Brother,
ask him, man, after you got done with me,
you know me, bro. Anytime you look at me and say, "Hey, this is a guy I think we should bring on," what do I do, dude? I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Hey, would you please come on Team Never Quit Podcast? All right. Well, listen, I I hope you listening to this show, you've been touched. You've heard the word of God. You've heard the message that you can make a difference in the world if you just run. Don't be afraid to run to the darkness with the light in your heart, and you can change things. You can save lives. You can plant seeds. You can change yourself. And that's what the beauty of this whole process that Tim shares is that he was changed.
Yeah.
His purpose was changed, his focus.
Good people step into the darkness all the time. Just never forget that you're a good person, right?
And that's what it takes.
That's your body armor right there. We survive in hell. That's our job. But your boys are good, right?
Yeah.
That's the reminder. Even if my C daddy, he'd always say, he's like, look, man, I want you on the edge where the demons live. I'll pull you back. That's all he said to me. That kind of deal. Right. So when you're young and going and
yeah.
But after a while, living on the edge becomes muddled. And so it's what there's a little bit of darkness over on this on both sides, a little bit of light on both sides. Surviving that middle part
is and I believe that through the word of God, and you can do that. So listen, to learn more about Tim, please visit his website, O.U.R. rescue.org. If you want to know more about us or you want to share your greatest never quit story with us, go to ours, TNQpodcast.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes. And I just want to, on this one, brother, I want to thank God for talking to me today. I want to thank Christ. I want to thank my children for how much I love them and what they do for me. And I want to thank Tim, and I want to thank you, Marcus, because, without you, brother, I couldn't be able to do this show. So thanks, brother.
Yeah, brother. And the good Lord above, and to the wife, but yeah, to Tim, man, and what he's doing. Good on you, brother.
Amen.
I'm out.
I'm out.
Never quit.